it's reported that I had seizures right away in the hospital, maybe even in the ambulance on the way to the hospital. I was out of it for the first few days. So it was, I don't really know the circumstance. I do know that the seizures that I was having in the hospital were of the tonic-clonic type. And since the hospital, I have not had that type of seizure. But that's where they began for me. My name is David Spranger. I'm 58, I think 57, 58. I was an IT specialist working for the Mecklenburg County, the government where I live, for nearly 20 years. I rode my bike to work most every day. And in 2015, I was hit on my bicycle and left for dead in the road. And that's where I began the seizure journey. The EEG did show abnormalities during that time, and that's why they put me on Keppra right away. The MRI did not show the damage. So I left the hospital soon after that, I guess. And I got to back up because my introduction to this diet started right then in the hospital. Prior to me in the crash, my wife, who is extremely smart, worked in a library for many years as a librarian, and was going through some brain inflammation herself, had been doing research into things because doctors have not been helping her whatsoever, and had discovered the MAD diet on her own for herself, but hadn't had much luck at adapting to it. But when she saw me on seizures and having the seizures that she did in the hospital, she started feeding me bacon grease while I was still unconscious. I was a vegetarian for 25 years prior to that. So I took it readily, and when I woke up to being conscious, she told me this and I accepted it. So I haven't looked back. I do know that when I left the hospital, I still was under the belief that I wasn't brain damaged. Actually, for the next year, I went under the belief that I didn't believe that I had seizures, that they weren't an issue for me. I got off the Keppra right away. I stayed on the MAD diet, but wishy-washily, to say the least. I didn't follow it strictly. And so I did have experiences during that first year that I definitely know now, looking back, were seizures, but I didn't accept them as seizures. I didn't accept that I had brain damage. And I didn't go back to a neurologist for a long time either after leaving the hospital. When I did go back to the neurologist, he told me after some experiences that I was having, that I wasn't sure what was happening. He told me that I probably was having seizures, but the MAD diet that I was on probably wasn't going to help me because I wasn't given to it by a dietitian and I had no idea what I was doing. And so if I felt like going off it, I should. So I did. I went off it immediately because I really wanted to go back to carbs. I wanted to go back to vegetarianism. I wanted to go back to doing the meditation courses that I did, which were long-term vegetarian. Intense, you had to be vegetarian for the time. So I did immediately. And I experienced what I knew were seizures at that point. That was my first thing. I know I'm having these. I cannot deny it anymore. And I said to myself, my wife is a freaking genius. I'm sorry. She should be given so much credit for getting me on that right away, and I should never have questioned her. I should never have questioned her. But I did, and I got off it. And of course, ever since then, I've been on it 100%, except when I've gone for EEGs, when the doctor has sort of hinted at me that he'd like to see activity. And when I do leave the diet, he sees the activity on my EEGs. When I'm on the diet, he does not see the activity. I was already an experienced meditator. I'd been meditator for 20 years. I went into that course. You know, I kind of knew that I was having these seizures. I had done research. I took a train there. It was a long journey. And I kind of, at that point, kind of realized what these were. But I still hadn't accepted it within myself. But I went into the course. I started eating the vegetarian food regularly right away, gave up the fats, went in full carb, heavy carb diet that they provide for this. And within 2 days, I was seeing the food as gray. My vision turned whenever I looked at the food that was served us. We're served in silence, because the meditation course is silent. I was looking at the food, and it looked gray to me. I couldn't even see colors anymore when I looked at the food. I'm thinking, this is poison. I'm eating poison here. And I did continue eating. And the third day, after the 10 a.m. group sitting, I had very heavy seizures. I was sitting there in my room, and I remember the course manager knocking on my door for something, and I was very interrupted. It just startled me, and I went back to my cushion and sat back on my cushion, and I experienced what I knew consciously for the first time was a seizure. And then giving up the diet for 10 days. The course was 10 days. It was ongoing. I had at least 8 or 10 seizures per day that were pretty heavy, followed by patterns of not really being there. So when I'm off the diet, I don't know that I'm even able to be communicative, frankly. It's that bad. It's really that bad. And when my wife picked me up, I was gonna schedule for the train home, but she knew something was up, and she waited for me at the entrance to the course. She drove that long way. She waited for me. She had some bacon grease in hand. She had it to me, put it in my mouth. I started feeling better immediately. It's an immediate reaction. Now, I didn't stop the seizures regularly for another 3 months after that. So I know that it takes time for me to build back into it, but I've never looked back on that again. I can't. It was a great experience, a wonderful experience, but I will never repeat. My doctor has pretty much established he knows that I'm pretty much anti-surgery, but he has offered me the VNS, which is a surgical implant I think it goes somewhere in your chest, and then it somehow hits the vagus nerve. But I'm kind of against it. He very much would like me to try it. Surgeries in general, I have a big qualms. Of course, I went through multiple surgeries while I was in the hospital. I was unaware of all those. They happened while I was unconscious. I've been through surgeries before, but I avoid them. I tend to avoid them. I just don't think opening the body unnecessarily is always a good thing. And if I can find a non-surgical method for doing something, I'm going to do that first. So that's my big qualm. I can say my neurologist has kind of, not actively, he got my idea pretty quickly that I wanted to be on the keto, the Modified Atkins Diet and stay on it. But he established right from the start that that's not what you really belong on. The first thing is to try these drugs, and the second thing is to try surgery, and the third thing is maybe the diet. And he keeps saying that, but he can't deny that the diet helps me. And I think he is learning from that. I don't think prior to me, he didn't deal with kids. So he's an adult neurologist. He doesn't deal with kids. He hadn't had an adult who's been on it before. I'm his first, and I think he understands now it works. But that hasn't stopped him from trying to suggest drugs, and I've been on at least a dozen different drugs trying to control the simple partials for me. I haven't given up the keto at all in that time. And they all send me into worse states. Every single one he's given me has made it worse and not better. So that's where I sit. But he's established, and he actually suggested, I should forget this part of it. There are no dietitians in Charlotte, at least at the time when I started this diet. who were familiar with the keto diet for seizures. None. I did find one established with Wake Forest University Hospital, about 50 miles from here. He got me my neurologist got me a referral to a neurologist up there. And I went to that neurologist, and that neurologist just said from the start, no, you haven't gone through all of my other programs. I'm not referring you to our ketogenic dietitian. So I got that negativity from there too, but I went and saw her anyway, and she said I was on the right track. She saw me on a personal level, and she suggested I just keep to what I was already doing. So I really wanted to get with a dietitian, but never had the opportunity. Of course, I miss working greatly. I hardly ever ride my bike. I used to ride my bike to and from work every day. I rode recreationally and, just to get to and from places. I don't get to do that anymore. The seizures contribute to where I have periods of confusion also, and that's maybe part of the TBI, brain memory issues too that are caused by this as well. But in any case, I'm established enough in that I don't even want to put myself out there to go down the road and suddenly forget what I'm doing or where I'm at. So I don't ride my bike anymore. I don't much get out into public. I go to the library a couple times a week, and I go grocery shopping with my wife if she wants. And that's a big thing. She's been my caretaker, though she probably takes more responsibility than she should. It's been an extremely huge amount of stress on her, and that is the biggest change I can say in my life. And I don't want to forget that one. That's the biggest. The amount of stress that it has added to my spouse's life. Just feeling that she has to make sure that I'm okay. Be open to diet changes before you get on the medications, please. That's what I would establish first off. The medications can. I've had that experience. I shouldn't, but the medications can do so much negative. It couldn't hurt to try the diet. It doesn't hurt to try the diet. I know it doesn't work for everybody, but it sure does work for some people. I may get to tears. That's what part of why I'm wearing sunglasses. My spouse's gift of that to me has just been. It's well appreciated. I can say that.